Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's a newly updated profile on my Branded Despia deck. So not much has changed since last time I brought this to you. The only thing that's really changed, if anything, is going to be the side deck. But I figured I'd show you guys, what I got this time around and just kind of share with you guys my ideas of why I play my deck the way it is. And yeah, let's go and get to it. So figured I'd start off the month strong, considering that, yeah, Branded Despia is so popular right now, and this set just has a lot of possibilities. And as y'all know, for those who saw my post, I am building a Branded Tri-Brigade. I only need a few cards really, and they're all on their way through the mail, so hopefully I'll get those by the end of the week. But yeah, I'll be excited to showcase that deck later on. But anyway, starting off with 3 copies of Alibur, the Jester Despia. So basically what this does is that it searches out any branded spell or trap, in which case you're going to want to search out your fusion cards. And yeah, he's pretty good that way. And also he has a graveyard effect where if a fusion monster is either destroyed by battle or leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, this card can target one effect monster your opponent controls, and you can special summon it, and if you do, negate that targeted monster's effects. Now keep in mind, you can only use one effective Alibur per turn and only once that turn. Same clause applies to Despia and Tragedy, but most of the time you're going to resolve its first effect, where if you send it to the grave or banish it by a card effect, it gets to search out another Despia monster, which you got plenty of targets for this. And I think 2 is the perfect number. You could run 3 if you want, honestly. But also has a graveyard effect where you can banish it from the grave and then reset one of your branded spells or traps. So both are excellent cards. I'm so happy this is finally getting a holo printing and Ghost from the Past 2. And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Next, 1 copy of Dramaturge of Despia. So this card states that if your opponent basically special summons a extra deck monster, you can target one effect monster on the field and negate its effects. And keep in mind, this is an if effect, so it won't lose timing, so you don't have to worry about that. But anyway, it also has an effect where if it's used as fusion material, whether sent to the graveyard or banished, you can just special summon this card right back. So it's a 3K body, and with the built-in negation, yeah, that's pretty broken. Next, 1 Ad Libitum, similar to Dramaturge. It basically acts as a form of power boost, which can come up, but the most important piece is that if it's used as fusion material, you can special summon 1 Despia monster or 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster that's either in your grave or your banished pile. So great card overall, and I'm really glad it sees so much more play this time around, more so now than before, because yeah, without the structure deck, it didn't really see as much play as before, but thankfully, again, with the new support, it got a whole lot stronger. All right, that pretty much rounds up the actual Despia monsters. Moving on here. Got 2 copies of Fallen Avalbaz. This is pretty important because you do need him for Branded Fusion, but he's also super polygonal, so he doesn't always feel like a brick. So yeah, Fallen Avalbaz is pretty good. It does come up from time to time, Still running 2 copies of Incredible Ecclesia. Not only is it a light monster, but she's a Sidra, which is pretty important, especially if you end up going second. And considering my deck is primarily opting to go second anyway, now keep in mind, there's also times where I do opt to go first. And there's actually a use for this card whenever you do go first. And there's actually an effect that sometimes people overlook because, again, not everyone's playing this. But here's another cool reason why I run Ecclesia. She actually has a graveyard effect which triggers on end phase. So if a fusion monster or monsters leaves the field, she can add herself back to your hand during the end phase. And that's pretty important because you do need like hand advantage or just basically any form of follow-up play that you can provide for this deck. And she offers that. And again, it's just one of those cards that people sleep on. And yeah, I definitely think that Incredible Ecclesia is definitely something worth trying, and yeah, give it a try if you have it. I promise you won't regret it. Next, 2 copies of Edge Chain. As y'all know, I am running the Fight for engine, so yeah, Edge Chain is just great for fusion material, and plus, yeah, it cycles out another Fight for Patchwork. Still running 1 Dark Magician because yeah, having the 1 pop off of Dragoon is pretty worth it. Honestly, it comes up quite a lot, and it's just really good at closing out games. All right, hand trap lineup still exactly the same. I'm running 2 of each to Ash Blossom, which I'm actually considering bumping it up to 3. Yeah, I'd be running 45 cards, but I think out of all the hand traps, I think this is probably gonna be the best one. Well, the most generic one at least. 2 copies of Ghost Bell, 2 Ogre, which is great against the Flunderies matchup, and 2 copies of Effect Veiler, all excellent hand traps. I may consider cutting the Effect Veilers for Imperms, but haven't decided on that yet. But yeah, because there are ways to dodge Effect Veiler in this deck anyway too, because especially Branded Opening, which you can drop on your draw phase, and Effect Veiler can only activate during the main phase. So yeah, it's like, it's pretty iffy, but I like it still because, you know, it is pretty generic on its own. All right, so that rounds up all our monsters. Moving on to spells. Starting off with, of course, 3 copies of Branded Opening, which is basically a Rhoda / E-Telly. Again, quick effect, so you can drop it on your draw phase. And it's really good because like it has synergy with Despia and Tragedy and Fight for, I'm sorry, not Fight for Patchwork, Edge Chain to get yourself another Fight for Patchwork. So yeah, it's pretty broken. And the fact that you can also, you know, land Alibur during your draw phase and then trigger the effect, you don't even have to worry about effect failure. The only cards you really have to watch out for is the Gamma package or Imperm, but overall, yeah, this card just dodges so much. It also avoids Draw and Lockbird because, you know, Draw and Lockbird cannot activate during the draw phase, so amazing, right? Next, 3 copies of Branded Fusion. Naturally, you do need to run this at 3 because, yeah, you definitely want to get all your materials into the grave and get a free fusion monster just to continue your combos, basically. 2 Branded in red, which actually comes up quite frequently, to be honest. It's really good at closing out games, considering that it is a quick play spell. 1 Despia Theater of the Branded, which does see play from time to time. So, yeah, can't complain about it. 3 Fight for Patchwork. This really needs no explanation. It's Pot of Greed. Let's just be honest. It gives you an Edge Imp and a Polymerization. Yeah, it's crazy. Which comes to our next card. 2 copies of Polymerization. As you already noticed, I swapped out the commons for the alternate or super rares, so I'm pretty happy to have these. 2 Super Poly. Still going with 3 Triple T because, yeah, Triple T is just so crazy, this format. I mean, considering that it serves 2 different purposes, well, technically 3 purposes, but the ones you're going to mostly use the most is going to be is either the Pot of Greed effect or the Change of Heart effect, which, by the way, does not target. But if you do want to get a little aggressive, you know, you could do the Forceful Sentry effect where you get to get some hand knowledge of what your opponent is playing and just shuffle back some key important cards that they're going to have to hope they can top deck. So, yeah, Triple T is just nuts. So I definitely like this a little bit more than Crossout right now, but keep in mind I am still reciting out my Crossouts. 1 Called By, Gold Sark, and Foolish Barrel, which again just helps me get access to my Despia and Tragedy a little bit faster. So yeah, and honestly I do see them quite a lot considering that I am playing a 44 card deck. I'm sorry. Extra deck, not much has changed here, but I have been making some considerations. Still running the basic ratio though, 2 Libellion, 2 Albion. You know, these guys provide you additional fusion summons. Of course, with Libellion, you have to discard a card for cost to use it, and it can't attack on the turn it uses that. But when you do, you know, of course, you're going to go into Mirror Jade. 2 copies of Guardian Chimera. I'm actually considering bumping this back down to 1, because like most of the games I played, I've only really summoned out the 1. I've never summoned out the second one. There have been instances where I considered doing that, but I felt like I didn't really need to overextend, and I was just able to close out the game anyway. So yeah, it's kind of iffy. I might just put in like another super poly target, but let me know in the comments what you guys might think. And maybe 2 is the correct number. I don't know, really. 2 Masquerade. You know, this is still really strong, and I've actually figured out ways to turbo it out a little bit faster. So yeah, like when you really think outside the box, yeah, I can see like why people like to run this at 2, because yeah, you can easily turbo this out at 2, and honestly, paying 1,200 life points, it adds up really fast, especially against like Prank Kids, Flunderies, even Tri-Brigade. Yeah, if you know you're up against that specific matchup, try to get this out, both of them at least, and yeah, they're going to be in a lot of trouble if they can't out it. 1 Despian Coritas, which does still see quite a lot of play. 1 Proskinian, crazy if you can pull it off, of course. For my out to Contact C, 1 Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon, but it's also good because like if you can force out, like let's say you're up against Eldritch and you force them out to summon out the big guy, yeah, you can just basically super poly away and go into Sprint, and Sprint is just great for nuking floodgates basically, so definitely something to consider. 1 Starving Venom, 1 Drago Stapelia, and of course, one of my win conditions, Dragoon. So yeah, all amazing cards, so definitely give them a try. Alright, so that rounds out the extra deck. For the side deck, there have been some changes like I stated earlier. So 3 Token Collector still, because you know, it's just really strong against Sword Soul and just the Brave engine entirely. So yeah, Token Collector is just pretty nuts. I cut down Nibiru to 2 copies simply because, you know, not because he's breaky or anything like that. No, it's nothing like that. I just wanted to make room for some other cards in my side deck, especially for like additional targets for Crossout Designator. So To replace the third Nibiru, I am running 1 copy of Artifact Lancia. It's not really for me to use for myself, but if I do have to go that route, sometimes it will come up, depending on the matchup really. But again, it's just there mainly as a target for Crossout Designator. Now the new side tech actually for this deck, which actually has been seeing a lot of play in general, I'm playing the Necroworld Banshee tech with that in Zombie World, because this basically just deal with Flunderies entirely. If you bring this out, Flunderies can't play. And this also, funny enough, actually hurts the Tri-Brigade matchup because they need their Beast, Beast Warrior, and Winged Beast to make their Link monsters. And if everything on the field and in the graveyard is a zombie, they can't play either. So it's like, man, it's like Zombie World is actually pretty strong right now. And Necroworld Banshee conveniently is a dark monster, so you can easily just go into Albaz plus this, make a Labellian effect, shuffle itself back in an Albaz, make a Mirjade, and now you have a free access to Zombie World just like that. It's crazy. So yeah, definitely try this out if you can, because like this card is just crazy. Next, 3 copies of Crossout Designator, needs no explanation. 3 Twin Twisters, and of course the 1 red reboot. And yeah, just because, you know, back row heavy strategies are still out there and they're just equally as annoying. And plus, I have to like watch out for Skill Drain, because Skill Drain really hurts this deck. Rivalry of the Warlords also hurts as bad, and even Anti-Spell Fragrance. So just gotta watch out for those 3 specifically, and yeah, that's kind of why I run this lineup. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys again next time.